Hello guys and girls, Wager Detective here, right back at you with another Wager Detective report. We're going to get into this cap between the Twins and the Cubs. Today is July 18th, 2026. Before we get into the cap, be sure to follow Wager Detective on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. And set alerts on Twitter, subscribe on YouTube, leave comments on all those platforms, like and share, guys. I appreciate and love all my fans out there, present and future. The Wager Detective report didn't do too good yesterday, but I got to believe that it's just one or two things with the Yankees. You have to fire that manager. I don't even want to say his name because he's just bad luck, man. I wish nothing but bad for him in his life. I hate to say that about an individual because I want to keep everything positive and good, but he single-handedly cost the Yankees that game yesterday, and he's done it for years. I don't know why he's in the organization. Does he have pictures on somebody in that organization? Is he bribing them? Is there some kind of extortion going on there? I have no idea, but eventually all this will come out. I will be digging and looking for facts, anything I can to unravel what's going on. But the Wager Detective report, nonetheless, didn't do good on that Yankees game yesterday. So let's get into this cap as we look at the Twins here. The Twins are 7-3 in their last 10. They're coming into this game as a plus 122, and then the Cubs are coming back as a minus 144. As you can see on the screen there, Byron Buxton is still out with a hip impingement. He's been out, I believe, since July 7th. That is the only reason I could see the Twins being plus 122 here. The Cubs coming back at minus 144. The over-under set 8.5. And just want to show you something real quick. They're saying that the weather here in Chicago area, Wrigley Field in particular, light thunderstorms. But if you see on the screen there, 1 o'clock thunderstorms, and then around 2 p.m. on, it looks like it's going to be good. So this game is going to go. It's going to be on if that weather is correct. And let's just cap it as if such. If we look at the Twins, they're 6-4 in their last 10 versus the Cubs, scoring 5.5 runs a game to 3.8. And if we look at their last 9 or last 6 at Chicago, they are 4-2, scoring 4.5 points a game to 4.33 for the Cubs. So we seen them put up 5 yesterday against the Cubs. They won 5-2, and they're a pretty good team. Listen, they're 7-3 in their last 10, 12-8 in their last 20, and I think the thing that stands out is they are 13-15 against left-handed pitching, which they're going to see in Matthew Boyd today. But the pitching today is looking fantastic. Both of these teams get up for these pitchers when they're on the mound. So again, the Twins 6-4 last 10 versus the Cubs, scoring 5.5 runs a game to 3.8 for the Cubs, comes out to 9.3, and that's a plus 1.7 runs per game average between their wins and losses. If we look at road day games for the Twins this year, they are 11-11, minus 10 run differential, 11 over and 11 under. In their 22 road day games this year, they're scoring 4.76 runs a game to 5.24 for their opponents, comes out to 10 runs per game average. And if we isolate that to the last 10 road day games, they get a little bit better. They're 6-4. In their last 10, they're 5-5. So if you look at it, road days on the year, 11-11, we cut it down to the last 10, they're 5-5, 6 over and 4 under in the last 10 games to that 8.5. And in their last 10, they're scoring 5.1. In their last 10 road day games, they're scoring 5.1 runs a game to 5.4 for their opponents, comes out to 10.5 runs per game average. If we look at what the Twins have done in their last 9 overall, they are 7-2 in their last 9. 2 over and 7 under. They're plus 18 run differential in their last 9 games, scoring 5 runs a game to 3 runs a game for their opponent, comes out to 8 runs a game average. And in that last 9, they have faced the Yankees, Cleveland, the Angels, and yesterday the Cubs. So we look at the Twins. What are they doing in road interleague games this year? They were swept at Pittsburgh, and they're 5-8 in interleague road games this year, minus 7 run differential, 9 over and 4 under in those 13 road interleague games. They're scoring 6.15 runs per game to 6.69 for their opponents, comes out to 12.8 runs per game average. In their 13 interleague road games this year, they have scored 5+ 9 times out of those 13 games, and their opponents have scored 5+ 8 times. Okay, so that's that side of the Twins cap. You know, what they're doing, how they're doing recently, what they do against the Cubs. Everything looks pretty good. I mean, in all those metrics, they're getting to 4 or 5 runs a game, and they did that yesterday. They got to that 5-run mark yesterday. So We're going to get into the Cubs side of the cap, and then we're going to leave the pitching at the end. When we look at the Cubs, they're 54-43 on the year. They're 5-5 in their last 10, 14-6 in their last 20 games. They're 27-20 at home. They're 15-10 in one-run games, but they are 11-16 in interleague action. If we look at their home day games this year, they are 15-10, plus 21 run differential. They were swept by Houston. They were swept by Arizona. They were swept by the Mets. They were swept by Houston, they swept Arizona, and they swept the Mets. So that is the composition of their home day games this year, where they're 15-10. So they swept two teams, Arizona and the Mets, and then they were swept by Houston, which has a pretty potent lineup. And so does the Twins, but without Buxton in there, you got to think sooner or later there's got to be a regression to the mean. He has been out, I believe, last 10 games for them. So if we look at what the Cubs have done in those the record of 15-10 in home day games, they are plus 21 run differential. They're 16 over and 9 under in home day games this year. They're scoring 5.92 runs per game to 5.08 for their opponents. They've scored 5+ 13 times in their 25 home day games. Their opponents have scored 5+ 9 times. If we isolate that to their last 13 home day games, 7-6 plus 7 run differential, 9 over and 4 under, scoring 6.38 runs a game to 5.85 for their opponents. So if we look at on the whole for the year, 25 home day games scoring 5.92. We look at their last 13, they're scoring 6.38. So it goes up about 46 points there on the runs scored per game. If we look at their last 13 home day games, the average score is coming out to 12.2. So we look at the Twins' last 10 road day games, 10.5 runs per game. We look at the Cubs' last 13 home day games, 12.2 runs per game. That's somewhere in the middle of like 11 runs per game average. So it's 2 runs. See, I noticed something here. When I put this information out there, all of a sudden it doesn't happen. When your eyes get too big, I don't know whether these books are trying. I think they're trying to completely eliminate the sharp action, and they don't care about square action. You know, the only person that's finding these stats is someone that's doing the work, and I've just noticed consistently when I'm putting out trends and stats that are just so one way, if you try to bet it, you're getting burnt. So I'm going to be wiser to what's going on. I just got to find out what they're doing behind the scenes with the baseball bats, the balls that are coming into play. Once that gets unraveled, you might as well just call me a millionaire, because if I whistle blow on that and we find out just a hair of truth, guess what? I become an instant millionaire. So let's get back to this. Last 9 games for the Cubs overall, they're 5-4 plus 2 run differential, and we looked at the Twins. They're 7-2 in their last 9 plus 18 run differential. Last 9 for the Cubs, 3 over 6 under in those games, 4.11 runs per game to 3.88. So a major drop off between their home day games, what they're scoring, 5.92, and their last 13 home day games scoring 6.38, and then looking at their last 9 games scoring 4.11. You know, it's a couple runs off there. If we look at home interleague games this year for the Cubs, they're 3-9 in home interleague games. But the run differential, even in that, is even. We look at road interleague games for the Twins, they're 5-8, like we said, minus 7 run differential, where they're scoring 6.15 runs a game. We look at the home interleague for the Cubs, where they're 3-9, they're only scoring 4.25 runs a game to 4.25 for their opponents. The difference is, in road interleague games for the Twins, their team is giving up 6.69 runs per game, whereas the Cubs are giving up 4.25. So they're scoring 2 more runs a game in interleague action between the splits, but they're also giving up the same amount. They're giving up 6.69, the Twins are. So it's a contrast there, but I think it's very noting that even though the Cubs are 3-9 in home interleague games, their run differential is even, whereas, you know, the Twins, they're 5-8. They're a respectable minus 7 run differential, but they give up a lot of runs and score a lot of runs, and I don't know if that's necessarily going to be the case today. We've seen a lot of overs and unders, but more overs in both these teams splits than unders. But that's the Cubs side of the cap. So the bright spots for the Cubs, 15 and 10 in home day games. They trumped the Twins there in that split, scoring 5.92 runs per game in home day games, whereas the Twins are scoring 4.76. That's more than a run better per game. We look at the last 13 home day games. The Cubs scoring 6.38 runs per game. The Twins only scoring 5.1. And last night overall, I think, is a split that goes towards the Twins slightly. They're scoring 5 runs a game in their last 9, whereas the Cubs are scoring 4.11. But I caution that to say that with no Buxton, eventually, sooner or later, not having that bat in the lineup, it's easier for a pitcher, especially like they'll see today in a seasoned veteran in Boyd, that he can neutralize that lineup because he's got one less guy, one less threat to pitch around. All right, let's get into the pitching. We look at Taj Bradley. The Twins are 5-0 in his last 5 starts, plus 18 run differential. Those wins came against the Angels, the Guardians, Houston, Colorado, and Arizona. And his last 5 starts, 31 innings pitched with a 2.32 ERA, a 0.93 WHIP, and 1.16 home runs per 9. If we look at what he's done on the year overall, when he starts, the Twins are 12-6, 9 over, 9 under, plus 22 run differential. And in all his games this year, he's got a 3.60 ERA, a 1.22 WHIP, and a 1.32 home runs per 9. If we isolate it to what he's done on the road, the Twins are 7-3 when Bradley starts on the road, plus 25 run differential, 6 over and 4 under in those games. In the road games where Taj Bradley starts, the Twins are scoring 6.3 runs a game and 3.8 for their opponents, comes out to 10.1 runs per game average. In 51 innings pitched on the road this year, he does have a 4.06 ERA, a 1.39 WHIP, and he's giving up a very concerning 1.59 home runs per 9. He did give up 4 home runs at Tampa Bay, and he gave 3 home runs up at Detroit. Going against a lineup like this, I got to believe that the Cubs got more of a potent lineup than Tampa Bay and Detroit. It's close, it's marginal, but it's pretty much the same. You could see home runs going out today. It does say that the winds are blowing from left to right at 14 miles an hour. I don't know. I mean, does that mean the ball, if it gets hit in the air, it's just going to left or right? I mean, you got to think they got some left-handed bats in there. You got Bush. And you look at the Twins, they got a bunch of guys that are going to be turning around to the right-handed side. So I could see this over not being as tempting when you factor in the weather. But that is, and we look at what he's done against the National League this year. When Taj Bradley starts against the National League this year, Twins are 4-2, plus 16 run differential. So in all these splits on the road for the year, for the last five, Twins plus 18 when Bradley starts, 12-6 on the year, plus 22 run differential. We look at the road, 7-3, they're plus 25 run differential. And again, against the National League, the Twins are 4-2. All 6 games went over that Bradley started against the National League. In 34 2/3 innings pitched against the National League, he does have a 4.16 ERA, a 1.07 WHIP, and 1.04 home runs per 9. The wins did come against Washington, St. Louis, Arizona, Colorado. The losses came against Cincinnati and Pittsburgh. So those 2 losses did come by 1 run apiece, and all those games went over. In the game that he beat St. Louis, he only won by 1 run. Colorado, you beat Colorado. Washington, pretty respectable. So you look at Taj Bradley, a 2.32 ERA over his last 5 starts, and if we want to look at his worst ERA, even on the road versus against the National League, they're 4-2 when he starts with a 4.16 ERA. So from the top to the bottom, he's the worst being 4.16 ERA, the best being his last 5, 2.32 ERA. Now for the Cubs, you're going to have Matthew Boyd on the mound, and again, the Cubs, same thing. They're 5-0 in Boyd's last 5 starts, 3 over, 2 under, plus 14 run differential. So we said Bradley last 5 starts, the Twins are 5-0 plus 18 run differential. We look at Boyd last 5 starts, 5-0 plus 14 run differential. Cubs are scoring 6.8 runs per game in Boyd's last 5 starts. to 4 for their opponents. Comes out to 10.8 runs per game average. Last 5 starts for Boyd, he does have a 28 innings pitched with a 2.89 ERA, a 1.18 WHIP, and 1.29 home runs per 9. All those numbers in the last 5 between these two, Bradley takes the lead there. If we look at the last 9 this year, we look at his results for the year for Boyd, 7-2 this year, and in 46 innings pitched, he's got a 4.5 ERA, a 1.28 WHIP, and a 0.98 home runs per 9. We look at the year between him and Boyd. Bradley has the better ERA, has the better WHIP, but the thing that I think on the year, Matthew Boyd's only giving up 0.98 home runs per 9, whereas Bradley's giving up 1.32 home runs per 9. And if we isolate it to home, the Cubs are 4-1 when he starts at home this year. 25 innings pitched, 5.04 ERA, a 1.16 WHIP, and 1.44 home runs per 9. And if we look at all those numbers, Boyd is better at home than Bradley is on the road. The ERA is a run less for Boyd. The WHIP is better than Bradley's by 1.39 to 1.16 for Boyd. And then the home runs per 9, both these guys in similar areas. 1.44 home runs per 9 that Boyd's given up at home, and Bradley's given up 1.59 home runs per 9 on the road. So you look at that. If Buxton was playing and we had this line, I would say that it would be concerning to take the Cubs. But I think just with one player out, guys are going to step up. I mean, I look at this lineup, I'm not really impressed with them. I mean, I'm really not. But I am impressed with the fact that Bradley and the way they hit for him across all these metrics, they're really they're scoring runs. A couple of these splits, I mean, on the road, they're scoring 6.3 runs per game in his 10 starts. I could see home runs going out. I could see, with that wind, man, it's kind of hard to see that game, going over if that wind is true. Is it gusts? Is it a certain time, or is it just a consistent breeze? But you look at the Cubs lineup, I think the Twins are playing better recently. I think that, that should definitely be looked at. And we look at their splits. I think the Cubs are playing good in home day games. They're scoring more runs by a little bit. All the numbers look like this game should go over. So that's going to be my call. I'm not going to come off that. I'm going to stay with where I do believe this game is going to go. I think the bullpens will give up some numbers. I just want to see what the line is here. I want to see if that number has moved at all, if at all. We look at the Twins. Now the Cubs are minus 156, and the Twins are plus 132. So obviously there's money coming in on the Cubs. And I would imagine people are looking for a zigzag here. The Cubs lost yesterday. They can't, are they going to lose the series? But if I'm looking at a team, both these teams are good. Both these teams can score. It's going to be a matter of who has a better game pitching. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. But if you look at both these pitchers, last 5 outings, they both got really good ERAs. I want to see something here. I want to just take a look here, if I can. No, that's not it. Best bullpens, Major League Baseball. Inside the pen, let's see what they got here. Let's see, either one of these teams are going to pop up. Cubs or the Twins. Cubs coming in at 16th. Closer Palencia on the 15-day injured list. Where's Minnesota at? Minnesota coming in at 26. So I don't know. I want to see some ESPN. I'm sorry this is taking so long. ESPN MLB stats. You get a little insight as to how Wager Detective cap games. When you look at home runs, Cubs, or anybody in the Cubs there? Chicago or Minnesota? Buxton, he's out. He's number 8. Where are the Cubs at? Anybody in there? Cubs, Armstrong. He's got 21. Whereas Buxton has 25. He's not playing. So there's an edge there for the Cubs, right? Because Armstrong's going to be batting first. And then what else do we have here? Who else do we have in the mix here? Another Cub, Hap, 17. Clemens is going to be in that lineup. What did we say? Clemens is batting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He's batting 6. So he could be, if you get guys on base, you could definitely see problems there for exactly what they're looking for. But if we look at run batted in, I mean, we look at this, again, Buxton's going to be out, so he's not going to be playing. So who else do we have in there that's going to make some noise for them? You got Dansby Swanson with 58. All right, we got Dansby Swanson. We got any Minnesota guys in there? Who else do we got? And then I'm going to take a look here. Stolen bases. Cubs in Minnesota. You got Armstrong, got 25. You got him in the leadoff spot. That's what you want at the top of the lineup. Who else we got in there in the lineup? You got Horner. He's got 14. You got Swanson. So the speed there for the Cubs. And then let's take a look at complete leader saves. I want to see who's where and what's what here. The Cubs in Minnesota. Neither one of these teams are really that good in that department, right? I mean, do you see any Cubs or Minnesota? Hold me up here if I'm okay, Webb, he's got 5. I guess that is going to be the guy if this game gets down to the wire. I don't see nobody for the Twins. I don't care if the wind's blowing, man. I just 8.5 just seems light. The only thing that scares me off of that total is the fact that both these pitchers are pitching good in their last 5 games. Like I said, Bradley a 2.32 ERA, and if you look at Boyd, he's got a 2.89 ERA. Both these guys are giving up at least a home run per 9. And their whip, I mean, Bradley's whip last 5, 0.93, where Boyd's whip's only 1.18. If I'm looking at this game, I was calling it over in this. I'm hemming and hawing right now on this game. I mean, with no Buxton in the lineup, this team is still winning. They're 7-3 in their last 10, but when does that regression to the mean come back to that? And you look at the Cubs. If I was going to look for one pitcher to have a game where I think they'll do better, I would think that maybe Boyd does. I've always been a big fan of his, and Bradley too, very good pitcher. But the regression in the mean, they're 7-3 on the road, scoring 6.3, but they're not good against left-handed pitching. Like we said, they're 13-15 versus left-handed pitching. I got the better manager with the Cubs, and I'm nothing against Shelton, but he's a 306 and 440 losses. He's having a pretty good year. He's playing 500, and the Cubs are at home, and they're coming off of a loss where they only scored 2 runs yesterday. Let's take a look at this. Let's see what the Cubs. Let's see what the Cubs runs are, if we can. Because I got to get this video up. It's 2:08, as you can see on the screen there. Okay, the Cubs are at 4.5 plus 100. They scored 2 yesterday. I gotta believe that we get there. Now look, they're only putting both these guys to get to 8 runs, but the total's at 8.5. Don't you find that a little concerning here? They're saying 3.5 and 4.5, right? I like the Cubs. I would like the Cubs over 4.5 here. I think the metrics show that they can get to that number, and that's going to be Wager Detective's one of his calls is over 4.5. Now the question is, if that happens, then that means the Twins got to, if they get 3 or less, which nothing in these metrics says that they're going to do. I like the over. I like the Cubs over 4.5. I don't have to get locked into whether they win or lose this game. So that's going to be the call here. Wager Detective calling in this game. He's calling the Cubs over 4.5 at plus 100, and then he's calling the full game over 8.5 at minus 110. That's the call here. Thank you for tuning in. Be sure to follow Wager Detective on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. And I gotta get this video up, so it's verified on Twitter and YouTube. Thank you guys. I love you guys. I'll talk to you soon.